Hey folks, Dr. Mike Israetel here for Renaissance Periodization and Juggernaut Training Systems with another hypertrophy guide, glutes, the most important body part known to man and woman alike. So, glute hypertrophy, let's start out with volume. Maintenance volume to keep the glutes the same size as they have been if maybe you're focusing on something else is actually 0 direct sets of glute work per week, because with normal leg training, particularly for quads like squats and all this other stuff and back training, bent rows, etc., you get enough glute stimulus to actually keep them the same size. Similarly, minimum effective volume for glutes is 0. If you just do squats, leg presses, hack squats, all your normal quad stuff, if you do high bar good mornings and stiff legged deadlifts for hamstrings, you're gonna get enough glute work to actually grow your glutes a lot. How do we know this? Because powerlifters, weightlifters, and a bunch of other athletes who don't actually target their glutes on purpose ever, even though they use some of our glute exercises, they basically end up in a situation where they have really, really big glutes, not as big as they could have, but really big ones without really direct focused examination or work on the glutes. If you want to get bigger glutes and you want to prioritize them, your maximum recoverable volume is going to be about 16 sets per week for glutes, and your MAV is going to be about 4 to 12 sets per week. Why is 16 sets per week the MRV for glutes? 2 reasons. 1, glutes are really big and really strong. They take on damage really well. But 2, this is not including leg training. So when you do squatting, or you do leg pressing, or you do stiff-legged deadlifts, things like that, we don't count that as glute volume. You can, but we don't here. So that's in addition, more glute stimulus to that 16 sets. So glutes actually can recover from 20 plus sets if they're direct or indirect, but as far as direct sets, it's a relatively low number because it's on top of all the stuff they're already doing. As far as intensity, 6 to 20 reps per set is a great intensity range. We should be working all the way through it for glutes. Why is it as low as 6? Because the glutes are architecturally very well designed to generate a high level of force. It's unbelievably rare to injure your glutes in a max effort, right? And glutes a lot of times, because they're designed for running, have a high proportion of fast twitch muscle fibers, and going as low as 6 reps per set can benefit. We'll talk about the exercises that are best suited for that right up next. So what kind of exercises are best for the glutes? Lunges are excellent for the glutes because it hyperextends your leg relative to your spine and your hip, so that really peak contracts the glutes and uses them a whole lot. Great stuff, except 6 reps on lunges is a disaster. That's super heavy. If anything goes wrong, you're getting hurt big time. So the exercises that you can use heavier for glutes are things like sumo squats, deficit deadlifts, 25s deadlifts, which are the same as deficit deadlifts. It's just the biggest plate you load onto the bar is a 25, so it's lower to the ground. Sumo deadlifts, all kinds of deadlifting, even hex bar deadlifts, are usually good for this entire range of 6 to 20 reps. Really, the 20 reps of deadlifts starts to become a problem because your lower back and your upper back, maybe even your grip, are going to fatigue before you get a lot of glute work. So for heavy glute work, choose all of those. For lighter glute work in the 12 to 20 rep range, choose dumbbell and barbell walking lunges. I recommend barbell if you can safely execute it, because then your grip is not a factor, and various glute bridges, frog pumps, all that other assistance glute work, more direct glute exercises where you're hyperextending your hips. That stuff is great, not for super heavy stuff, which all these other compound basics take care of for you, but that's great for more of the high rep, high volume stuff. As far as how to generate variation for glute training, well crap, we just gave you a ton of exercises. You can do barbell walking lunges for a while, then switch to sumo squats for a while as your main glute work, then switch to glute bridges, etc., etc. So the exercises can be varied. We can do loading variations, right? Training glutes heavy one day of the week, lighter another day, something like that. And of course, range of motion variations. So basically, when you do a sumo deadlift, you stop all the way at the top. Could your glutes work more if you pushed your leg behind you? Yeah, but that's for a different exercise, like a glute bridge or a machine donkey kick. Then if you do those, it takes a different part of your glute and makes it, or it basically puts your glute into a different part of its range of motion, which gives it added hypertrophy. So it gives you a different part, a different sort of aspect of glute hypertrophy. Maybe one day a week if you do sumo deadlifts and squats or something like that, and then another day a week, maybe you do kickbacks with a machine like donkey kicks and you do some glute bridges. It hits your glutes from both angles and gives you enough variation to really take care of the entire musculature. Frequency. 2 to 3 days per week is a good frequency for most people with glutes. Most can train their glutes more than once a week, even directly, because glutes do recover pretty well. But they're big, they're super strong, they take a ton of effort. So if you're training them more than 3 times a week, you have to ask yourself if you're limiting your training intensity and volume every day just to be able to train them more often. A real big temptation for folks training for bikini competitions, figure competitions, a lot of female athletes that want, for aesthetic reasons, to have their glutes as big as possible, a big temptation for them is to train their glutes every single day. But that's not the best way to growth because your muscles need time to recuperate, and the glutes, because they're so strong, so big, can take so much damage, need a bit more recovery. 6-day-a-week glute training, probably not the best idea. Give yourself more rest breaks, train harder on every day that you train, try 2 or 3, it'll probably work a little bit better. You will have to go heavier, but that's how you get bigger glutes. As far as periodization, the standard model here of periodization applies. Moderate reps, heavy weights for the glutes for a while, good volumes, then you up your volumes and probably increase the number of variations you're using, and you do higher rep sets, maybe 16 to 20 reps, and then eventually after a couple of months, you do a month of lower volume training in which you back away, let your glutes recover. This may be a good time to get away from all glute isolation work and just do your regular squats and deadlifts, and then come back to glute isolation work later. As far as metabolite techniques, you know, short of lunge to squat supersets, which are brutal but mostly hit your quads, it turns out, metabolites I haven't personally found with myself or my clients or other athletes I associate with and other coaches, haven't found special metabolite techniques to be super helpful with glutes. Here's the thing about glutes. However strong you are for sets of 10 to 15 right now in all of your glute exercises, if you can multiply your strength for sets of 10 to 15 months and years down the line, you will have bigger glutes. Stick to good technique, compound heavy basics, pepper in some glute bridges, frog pumps, isolation work like that, machine glute kickbacks. Make sure that you're getting stronger and you'll have bigger glutes. I was going to say no time that that's wrong. Bigger glutes over the long term is what counts. Thanks for tuning in.